This is the news in brief from the United Nations. In Ethiopia, severe human rights violations and abuses continue to be committed by all sides to the conflict, the Human Rights Council has heard. In a special session called by the forum's members on the conflict that has now spread from Tigray in the north of the country, delegations also learned that 9 in 10 people there require humanitarian assistance. Deputy High Commissioner for Human Rights, Nada al-Nashif, said that it was likely that more than 400,000 people in Tigray were now living in famine-like conditions, since only limited relief has been allowed into the region since UN humanitarians raised the alarm in June. She said that at least 2 million people across the Tigray, Amhara and Afar regions have been displaced because of conflict, and many of them are not receiving the assistance they need to stay alive. The Deputy UN Rights Chief noted with concern that the nationwide state of emergency announced on the 2nd of November had led to mass arrests of those believed to be sympathetic to the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front. Thousands of ethnic Tigrayans have been detained, along with more than a dozen journalists and UN staff, she said.
While some of those arrested over the past 6 weeks have been released, we estimate that between 5,000 and 7,000 remain detained, including 9 UN staff members. Many are detained incommunicado or in unknown locations. This is tantamount to enforced disappearance and a matter of very grave concern.
In response, the Government of Ethiopia delegation rejected the Council proceedings as politically motivated interference before insisting on its unreserved commitment to human rights. The conviction and long prison sentences handed down to 4 prominent human rights defenders in Vietnam for spreading so-called anti-state propaganda has been condemned by the UN Rights Office, OHCHR. The 4 individuals, Trinh Ba Phung, Nguyen Thi Tam, Do Nom Trung and Pham Duan Trang, were sentenced to up to 10 years in jail and 5 years on probation, OHCHR spokesperson Ravina Shamdasani said on Friday in Geneva. She explained that a 5th individual, journalist Lee Trong Hung, will stand trial on the 31st of December on similar charges. Mr. Hung had been due to run for political office as an independent, but he has been detained since March 2021 without access to a lawyer or family visits. Here's OHCHR's Ms. Shamdasani now.
The charges against these 5 people who were reporting on human rights and land rights and who were arrested in 2020 and 2021 appear to be part of a campaign to silence and intimidate those who raise their voices in defense of human rights. All the cases follow similar worrying patterns that raise serious issues concerning their presumption of innocence, the legality of their detention, and the fairness of their trial.
Intercommunal clashes that erupted in Cameroon's far north region in the past 2 weeks have driven at least 100,000 people from their homes, although the real number may be much higher, UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, said on Friday. In the last few days, more than 85,000 people have fled into neighbouring Chad, while at least 15,000 Cameroonians have been forced to flee inside their country. Indications are that displacement into Chad has accelerated fast, as the total is nearly triple the figure reported last week, when 30,000 people had crossed the border seeking safety. Casualties from the fighting have also risen to 44 people killed and 111 injured, compared to 22 dead and 30 wounded last week. In total, 112 villages have been reportedly burned down. The vast majority of new arrivals in Chad are children, and 98% of the adults are women. Some 48,000 have found refuge in 18 urban sites in N'Djamena, the capital of Chad, and 37,000 people are scattered across 10 rural sites along the bank of the Logun River. Daniel Johnson, UN News.